アマテラス大神じゃないですか。すごい。This year we step out into the sun. We've been waiting here for this moment for so very long. I only want everyone to be happy. The sun is coming. The sun is coming for us all. Yeah, すごい。It's hard to know what to say. It's hard to know how to start. I've spoken about this topic many times on this page in various talks I've done over the years. And in fact, the very reason I started doing talks on this page started as music talks was because I was here and very much here in this apartment, here in Tokyo, very much single and alone during the COVID pandemic, which anyone watching this, I imagine, would remember this. It's only a few years ago, 2020, 2021. Actually, I think I started doing talks in 2021. In the summer, spring, summer, maybe. But a strange thing happened because when I was living in Fukuoka before coming to Tokyo, I had full-time teaching work and I had a girlfriend and I had a lot of people around and I was doing shows all the time and drinking with friends in the neighborhood. Everything was very easy to, close, and I had a kind of community in the neighborhood and even outside the neighborhood, other places where there's a sense of community more. And then I moved to Tokyo with my girlfriend and we broke up, blah, blah. I don't want to go into that story. I never expected, or at the time I was mentally, how can I put it? Well, I was depressed and with good reason, I think, my contract had ended. I had lost the bulk of my, my job stability was gone, and I lost my benefits. I lost my full-time thing. And then I came here to start a new life and, try to be positive. And COVID came, and then the breakup. Again, I'm not going to go into it. And then I moved into this place. And in the summer of 2021, I was working on what became my tetralogy, starting with Hope in late 2020. And I did 4 albums. And after the COVID restrictions lifted, after I had COVID twice, and it was like, oh, I got a cold, It wasn't so scary anymore. And then from last year, I stopped wearing a mask finally, because I was very following the rules, during the pandemic. The realization started to dawn on me just how much I had changed from before the pandemic, from before coming to Tokyo, from before the breakup. And I realized that I was spending, most of my time alone here, doing what I do, which I'm thankful for, which is making music, and then more and more video editing along with that. And then when I had the chance to do more shows after COVID sort of, died down a bit, I started doing more and connecting a bit more with people and thinking, well, this is it. It's going to start changing now. I'm going to start having more of a social life, and maybe I'll even meet someone, and have some sort of a relationship with someone again. It hasn't been quite like that. I've made some friends, some acquaintances, some people I see at shows and things, but basically I've become a very solitary creature. And I don't know, I ask myself if maybe it's Tokyo. Maybe it's Tokyo. I wonder how this would change if I stepped out into another place. Like, they say you can't go back, right? So, in other words, I have changed. My way of thinking has changed. My lifestyle has completely changed in the last 4+ years. And I'm very much, for myself, standing at a crossroads. And I want to relate this to others who might be watching the channel, who might be doing something similar wherever they or you are, Japan or Tokyo, or outside Japan, or outside, of a city or anywhere. You can be alone in a city, in a small town, right? It depends. Actually, if you're in a small community, you might be always surrounded by people who know you. And in that case, you might actually want to be alone and can't be alone. You're like constantly maybe bombarded with people telling you things, or maybe your job, you have a boss who's screaming over your shoulder. I don't have that. In a way, I feel very, very fortunate in a way, because for my personality, I don't do well with that. That's one reason I became a teacher and a professor. And I guess if I were more able to play the social games that are necessary to have some kind of upward mobility, by now maybe I would have found more stable, higher paying work or whatever, because my classes have gotten better and better. I'm good at what I do, basically, and students say this, and I feel it and I know it. Music the same. If I wanted to, if I had it within me to kind of shape things in the direction that would bring that music to a wider audience, or would make it easier for people to find it and to, accept it, or maybe I would start getting requests for soundtracks or something like this, for example. I'm certainly capable of all of that. But here I am, sitting here talking to my iPhone again, creating this video about the solitary life. And I think what I've realized is, to a large degree, it is a choice. Because as many times as I feel like, okay, you know what, I think I get it now. If I only do this, I could have that benefit and my life would be easier, or I would have a girlfriend, or I would be, whatever that is that we chase after. But I don't, at this stage in my life, and having changed to the degree that I have over the past 4 to 5 years, I don't have it in me to want to pursue those things, which is not to say that I don't feel lonely, or I don't know if lonely is the word. And this talk is about accepting not loneliness, but solitude. And not only accepting it, but even embracing it and realizing the benefits that it brings us. Because it can also bring deep insights. Now, the second part for me that I want to talk about and admit, which might be counterintuitive, those of you watching, if you know me, some people will smile or laugh and nod their heads, and others who don't know me might be surprised, or not, because I'm talking. I like talking. In other words, I'm not an introvert. I don't have social anxiety, and I enjoy conversation very much with other people. And while it is true that in the past I might just kind of, if I'm too excited or energized, some topic has lit the fire in me, in the past especially, I might have just gone and overwhelmed. And I think I still overwhelm people when I do this, which is part of the reason people quickly seem to detach themselves, particularly if they don't know me for very long. Like if I'm in a bar or a restaurant, or it's a music event, and if I talk too much from the get-go kind of thing. And I know this, and I now, I myself, really, that may be the problem for 99% of people, but that's not my problem. And I'm not going to kind of wear too many masks when I don't need to wear them. I try not to wear masks unless absolutely necessary, or when necessary, to, do things. But I think these days I will leave a space. I will leave an opening for people to speak, and I will ask them questions about themselves. And I found, in Tokyo anyway, that sometimes that can actually have a negative effect, where it's like, so tell me what interests you. First just the small talk things, like, what do you do for a living, or if I'm just meeting someone, or what interests do you have? And it's like, some people can't tell you, and then that becomes awkward. It's okay, it's fine. But over and over, I just feel like I'm not able to connect. And when I do make connections, and they sometimes stick. And that's good. But in Tokyo, because of the distance literally between cities and places, because I live on the outskirts of Tokyo here, I'm mostly alone. And I have not, and I talked about this before too, so and I want to connect this to the viewers who are in a similar situation. Maybe it's not exactly the same, but I've tried dating apps, and I've tried, you go out, you talk, and then people kind of detach. Or, you seem to make a connection, and then you don't hear from people again. And that's the norm, at least in Tokyo, for me, has seemed to be. Or you hear, and that's, a one-time exchange, like, thank you, and, maybe see you again, and that's it. So, essentially, mine has become a life of solitude, not loneliness, which I'm not saying that there aren't moments that I feel this. And I think, again, to flip it back and say, well, is there anything wrong with that? Or is there anything wrong with refusing, if you will, to conform in order to be liked, which itself, if you need to change yourself, your approach, you only want to show people a good side or something, which is kind of a mask, then that relationship, as far as I'm concerned, won't be genuine from the get-go, and I'm not all that interested in it. It might get me a better job, eventually in some way, or it might get me more friends, or it might get me a girlfriend that the relationship won't last, but temporarily I might feel like, sometimes I get close to sort of, wanting to kind of try this, but even trying it, it doesn't work, because there's something inside me that doesn't allow me, or the universe says no, so I respect that. So embracing solitude, accepting it and embracing it, accepting first and foremost oneself. And I realize I'm not looking at the camera today, I'm gazing outside at the sky and the trees in front, and there's buildings and other telephone lines all over the place, and cars in a parking lot too, but I'm not looking at that. I'm looking over the rooftops into the trees and the sky, because this is the connection that's more important, I think, to recognize, all of us, that we have, rather than, of course, to other people, but other people are part of that. If we're all part of this, then, and we're all connected through this, not necessarily through our communication in words, concepts, or social norms, which is, I talk a certain amount, then you talk a certain amount, and then, I have to say the right thing at the right moment, and if I say something that isn't, or do something that doesn't feel right, or it's a bit too genuine in a way, or a bit too kind of direct, or a bit too fast, or a bit too slow, you don't catch the fish kind of thing, like everything is like a game of win or lose. I don't think this is what life is here to teach us. Why are we born into, I get a bit philosophical, and why are we here for the time that we're here? Because we're not here forever either. And that's another thing. Some people, it's like, oh, I was born, I'm in the world now, ... And it's like, yeah, but you're not going to be here forever either. What are you going to do in the interim? You're going to have a nice pension, or you're going to have a big house, or you're going to have a lot of, if you're a man, women in your bed or something. And so what? And then what? And then what? On your deathbed, what are you going to be thinking about? What did you do? Tanoshikatta, it was fun. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. For me, though, it hasn't been the thing. Certainly not these past 4 or 5 years. I've had good times. I'm not saying I've laughed, and I've had fun making music and doing things I enjoy doing, and teaching too. I enjoy teaching. put aside the instability of the fact that part-time contracts are, what they are. I don't know where I'm going from here. I don't know if I'm going to stay in Tokyo, and I don't think so. But I have no idea where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do. I might stay here if my situation changes. I can live here like this. I can go on like this so long as I have enough work to pay my bills, right? And like I say, I'm talking about embracing solitude, so it's okay. I'd like to go move in. If I'm going to stay in Tokyo, I'd like to move to the mountains, maybe. But, currently the universities where I work, it's too far. I have to wake up 2 hours earlier than I wake up now just to travel out there and be on the trains for an extra 30, 40 minutes. I prefer not. It's long enough already on these crowded trains in Tokyo. Tokyo is, it's a good place to make oneself feel alone. Or to, how can I say it? It's like if anyone out there listening knows Paul Auster's City of Glass, like Quinn is saying, you're in the middle of this huge city, all these people, you don't know anybody in that ocean of people unless you have your little circle, which is why in Tokyo, people tend to group in these groups of circles, and when you're in, you're part of that, and when you're out, you're not. And I personally don't really want to be in those circles either, because then they have their own rules and you have to conform to certain things that end up, for me, once I start working my way in, I can't get out fast enough, or I'm booted out because I don't follow some unspoken rule. I was kicked out. I mean, I didn't do anything horrible. I didn't scream or shout or break anything or get into a brawl, or I wasn't drunk even. I went to a community bar that had a music thing I don't want to go into because I don't want to say where. And I was talkative, and I started talking about a topic that was off topic, and the conversation went in that direction. The next time I went back to talk about music, I was told, you have to talk about music. And I said, that's fine. I love music. That's why I came here in the first place. And he said, I really don't think you're a fit for this place, and our customers won't feel comfortable, so don't come back. And I said, okay. I didn't protest, didn't get into a verbal fight, nothing. I was drinking a beer because I had one beer. I finished, I said, okay, I got it. And actually, it was repeated to me like 10 times. I said, I heard you. It's fine, I got it. And I just turned quiet. And then I said, okay, thanks for that. How much do I owe you? And I was charged triple the amount for a beer. Beer is like usually 500 or 600 yen. It's like $5. In Japan, it's expensive, right? But that's what it is. I was charged like close to US $18 or $20 for a single beer. I was like, okay. So, sometimes if you what's that saying in English about being you're a square peg trying to fit into a round hole, or a round peg trying to fit into a square hole, or whatever it is. It's pointless. That's the case. I'll take solitude and my music. I have creativity, I have music. I teach, which I enjoy, and I don't have a girlfriend, and I don't have lots of friends, but the friends I have are genuine, I feel. I mean, we don't see each other that frequently, we don't talk, chatting that frequently, but like when we meet, when we see, when we talk, it's like, it's real, There's no BS, there's no rules, per se, usually. So, in Tokyo anyway, I've been leading a rather solitary life, single, living alone, and making, all this stuff, this music. This is mostly from last year, these album covers here, and there's more on the other wall, and, And I just completed New This Dark Shroud album. I just completed a number of things. And no live shows booked right now, so that's another topic in a way. Stand tall, be yourself. Don't compromise. What's the price you pay? This is it. But I'm thinking, depending on my situation, I'm giving Tokyo one more year because the new school year starts in April, university, so I'm on a 1-year contract at several schools. And when that finishes, or before that finishes, I have to decide whether I want to stay here for I guess it would be a 6th year. This is year number 5, so that would be, do I want to stay for another year like this? Don't give up. You're not alone. There are people like you out there, and that's why this part of this talk is to say that. You're not alone, wherever you are. And by spending time in solitude, it's like in the image, you have to be a monk on the mountain if you want enlightenment. No. But recognizing one's connection to more than one's peers, one's family, one's teachers, and striving for something that is non-striving. It's not just money or success in that kind of outwardly, or like ego-stroking way. Can be quite liberating. Doesn't mean you're always going to be happy or never feel lonely or not crave some interaction. And if you crave it, if you can get it, then get it. And I do. I go out to bars occasionally. Actually, there's some good people at some of these places, but I was kind of, chiding myself a little bit the other day because I did 2 nights in a row and I was drinking, which is an old pattern, which I'm not, angry at myself or punishing myself for having done, but I woke up after the second time and I could feel there was still alcohol in my blood. I didn't have work, I didn't have classes to teach, but I woke up and I felt and it was a weekend, Saturday morning, and I just felt, I actually worked on an album on music, but I was tired and kind of felt like, why am I doing this? It's not. So it's balancing, but I know why I did it, and that's why I'm not angry at myself, because I wanted to be social with someone, and there was no one inviting me, hey, I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have someone inviting me to parties or whatever, so I just wanted social interaction, so I went out to the city area, and to a place I know and like, and some good people there, and artists, music people go to that place, and it was kind of fun, but ultimately I'm back here. It's not like, I'm not getting invitations to go have dinner with someone or whatever. And I find when I invite someone for that kind of thing, it usually just fizzles. So male or female, if it's like, if it's a woman and I'm intending to take someone on a date, that tends to be just no. And then if it's a male, like, in other words, like, hey, cool, and we exchange information and like, let's do a music thing or whatever, and then nothing. So I've learned to not depend on people for my own happiness, and that's why I'm doing this talk, and that's why I say solitude is a choice, and it's something we can first accept and then perhaps to some extent embrace while finding a balance within ourselves. I'm not an introvert by nature, I don't think. Maybe I have that aspect to some extent, but I'm basically extroverted. And when you see me out, I'm talking and animated and making jokes, and people say, you must have girls just, coming up to you and, like some people think I'm playboy, in Japanese called charai, which means you're kind of like, not serious, but it's nothing's further from the truth. Since I've been in Tokyo, I broke up with my ex, and then moved here, and then like basically just been mostly on my own. I had a short-term relationship with someone I did meet online through a language app, which I was using during COVID so I wouldn't go crazy, just to talk to people. And we had a short-term thing, and it broke last year, and since then it's back to 100% solitude. But even that was like, there was a distance there to begin with. We didn't see each other much, and it didn't go that deep. So there's nothing wrong with solitude. And there's nothing wrong with being social. It's a choice. And it's a personality thing, and it changes. In my case anyway. And again, maybe if I leave Tokyo, it could change again. Maybe it's the place, but I can't blame everything on the place, and it's not even a matter of blame, it's a choice, right? So I guess that's what I have to say. I'm going to go back to reading, music, preparing for classes tomorrow a little bit. I don't do prep, but it's I have to teach tomorrow. And thanks for watching my channel. If anyone got anything out of this, cool, great. Usually I look at the camera, and today I've been just looking at the sky. Maybe that's appropriate. Thanks.